All right, we're going to try and speed run through this morning. Got done a project that was several weeks in the making last night, and makes me just want to wake up and analyze the chorale, like as a reward for myself. I'm just going to say that, let's see, this is BWV's Chorale 5.7. What's cool about this? There's an interesting cadence. And interesting use of the melodic minor scale. So before we even start this, we should be checking out cadences and things like that, but looks like we're in G minor right here. You can see this, it's like two flats, first chord's a G minor chord right here. So it looks like one. And at the end, typical to Bach, when you do a chorale in minor, you end with a major modally borrowed one of these, right? So we see we've got a G and a B and a D and a G. So that's a major one, and we would bracket that and say it's modally borrowed, right? And we know that it's a one chord because it's the end of the piece, plus here's my D, D, C, F sharp. This is a suspension. This is a 5, 7 with a 4, 3 suspension right there. So this is G minor, like it looks like. However, we should check out the cadences. And before we do that, let's build ourselves a key box of related and close related keys. So if I'm in the key of G minor, right, I can look for closely related keys or related keys. So B flat major would be the related key, right? And then we go one flat more and one flat less. So one flat less would be, or more would be C minor, right? And that would be E flat major. And one flat less would be D minor, right? And the relative major would be that. And this is not going to visit all of these, but closely related keys and the related key are often target places for when you change key in tonal pieces. And so we can anticipate where we might go. So let's check out our cadences here, 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 and here as well. And the first one here is a D and an A and an F sharp and a D. And with the F sharp in there, it's probably a 5 chord because we're in the key of G minor, right? We have the raised leading tone from the harmonic minor scale. And so I'm going to place that as a 5 right there, probably a half cadence. Actually, spoilers, it's a special half cadence. We'll get to that in a second. And here's another one, D, D, F sharp, A. Right, and I'm just going to check if this is a 5 chord, then it can be anything beforehand. But if it's a 1 chord, if we've changed key to the dominant, then we would be proceeding it with a probably its own 5 chord, which would be an A major or an A dominant 7. And although we have A, C, C, E flat, it is an A chord. It's not major, it's not dominant, so it's not going to feel like a 5-1. It's going to feel like a half cadence. Same thing over here. I think we have a similar kind of setup. So that's another 5 chords. So we've got all these half cadence, but we're confirming that we're in the key of G minor, right? Over here, let's take a look at this one. B flat because of the key signature. F, D, B flat. This is a B flat chord. B flat major chord right there. So that can't be the 1 or the 5 chord in G minor. More than likely, it's going to be the 1 chord in the relative major, which is the place where we would expect things to go. And let's just confirm this. If this is 1, then 5 is F. And here I've got an F, A, F, E flat. So the C's holding out over there, right? Looks like an F dominant chord. So this is my F chord, 5 chord, and 1 chord, and I'm in the key of B flat major right there. Let's check up here. Okay, there's my F chord, F, A, F, C. Could be a 5 chord in the key of B flat, right? Could also be that we move to the key of F right here, right? So let's check the chord beforehand. If it's a 1 chord, then it's probably got its own 5 chord beforehand. And you see this E right here? It's telling me I think we're in the key of F, at least temporarily here, right? Our cadence, because key of G minor and B flat major minus an E is the key of D minor and F. So that means this should be a C chord right here. C, E, G, G, B flat. It is. This is going to sound like a 5-1 to us in the key of F major. So Bach's getting around, right? He's spending a lot of time here, which he should be doing, and then he jumps over to here, and then it looks like he's jumping down to there. And then he'll come back home, but he'll make it G major at the end because happy endings are important. It was an aesthetic. It's not happy ending so much as not having an unhappy ending. Okay, so let's check this out then. If I'm in the key of G minor, then this is C, E flat, and G. That's my 4 chord right there. It's probably a non-chord tone, passing tone. Now this is the interesting spot that I kind of wanted to bring up. You can read it as A, C, E flat, right? And if you go A, C, sorry, not E flat, but E natural, right? Then this is a minor 2, and that's not normal for the key. Normally we'd have A, C, E flat, that'd be in the key, and that would be a diminished 2. How did we get there? Well, we got there because we're using the, could be several things. It could be like, oh wait, have we changed key or something like that? Is he telling us that? But in fact, what happened was he wants, it's not a 2 chord, it's actually an F sharp A C chord, right? So it's tricky here because this both spells chords, but F sharp A C is my 7 diminished 6, right? And that should take me as a leading tone chord to the 1, and there's my G, G, B flat. So this is 1. So this is the correct chord progression here. So why bother with that E natural as opposed to leaving an E flat? And because that avoids, that's the melodic minor scale, and that's the whole point of the melodic minor scale. Instead of going D, E flat, and then like that, that would be an augmented second if it was an E flat right here. And we try to avoid those. The melodic minor, when we're ascending up through the scale towards the tonic again, puts the raised 6 back in there to avoid augmented seconds between 6 and 7 going up to do, like that. So it is a 7 chord, but it's interesting that this happened here, and you could have said, oh, I'll use a different color. You could have said something like, I have a 2, you know, chord right there, and you could go like melodic minor, right? Most of the time when we see raised 6, we see a major 4 as a passing chord, but in this case we got a temporary minor 2, and it sounds cool, different. Here's our first chord right here, and then here's our 4 chord, and you think it's just going to be something else, but you get this sort of jarring, right? It's really incumbent on the singer or the player of this to get this line to go, right? Get off of this and get to there. You can hear it. But anyway, it's very cool. All right. And that's going to happen again down at the bottom here when Bach comes back. So 1, and this would be a passing tone. And here's maybe the coolest feature of the whole thing right up front. We have a C, E flat, and a G. This is a 4 chord. It's in first inversion. This makes us a half step here. It is a half cadence, but it's a special half cadence held over from the Renaissance, held into the Baroque. This is our beloved Phrygian cadence. Phrygian cadence is, by definition, the inverted 4 in minor. So you have flat 6 right there, right? Not E natural, but E flat, going by half step into the 5 chord right there. So lay so, right? Hear this. I'm going to play from here for you so you can hear that. So here's my 1 chord right there. And then we get. Historically, it was more common to find these specifically used connecting a slow movement of the piece, right? At the end of the piece, leaving it with this sound like we're not done, and then it would move on to a faster piece afterwards. But you can find them in other places. Bach, this is, going on at the time of Bach, and so he's using that right at the beginning. I don't think it's an accident. He's going, look, we're going forward. So Phrygian cadence, we finally found one in the wild. Okay, let's keep going. This is still a 5 chord, but 7th's been added on the beat. It's 5-2. It means that the 7th's in the bass, right? Here's my 1-6, which should come afterwards, right? G, B flat, D, right? And we just have to connect the dots here. So let's take a look backwards from the cadence. I like to do that sometimes. This is a C, E flat, and an A and a C. So it is an A chord, but it's A, C flat, C, E flat. That's going to be my 2 diminished and first inversion 6 right there. Okay? And 2 legs to go to 5, so we're good here. G, B flat, G, D. This is my 1 chord right there. So we have to say, well, what would connect these 2 together? And I'm thinking it's going to be some kind of dominant right here. And if you look, F sharp, A, C right there. Again, this is a suspension right there, right? This would be like a 7-6 suspension, but this is it's going to be my 7 chord. Oops, 7, like that, diminished 6 right there. So cool. A bunch of forward moving cadences saying go, 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 but we start off with the Phrygian cadence and some weird, you know, variant chords as a result of using the melodic minor to get rid of the augmented second. All right, I'm just going to speed through this now. Same chord, right? 5 goes to 1 right there, G, B flat, D. And here, this is kind of interesting now. We have a F, E flat, A, and C. And you might be like, is this really an F chord? Well, if it's just A, C, and E flat, that would be like, well, let's play a game in red here for a minute. If it's A, C, E flat, and that's a non-chord tone, then A is my 2 diminished chord, right? Fair, okay? That should go to 5 then, which would be a D chord, and this is not a D chord. D, F, B flat, D. This is a B flat chord right there, right? So I think this is a chord tone because this would be F, A, C, E flat, which would be an F7 chord, which is 5 of that right there. So knowledge of sort of chord progression, like if it's a 2 chord and that's a non-chord tone, it should go to 5. Helps us to, you know, and you can hear it too. You can hear from here. We go from our 5 chord right there to here, and then you hear this nice dissonance. Sounds like a subtonic chord. And don't worry, we haven't changed key yet. We just call this the subtonic 7, right? Oh, wrong key. It's okay. Subtonic 7. We make a major 7 Roman numeral, and then we can put this as a 2 right there even. And it's using the natural minor scale, so it's a major and then a dominant. And subtonic 7 is also the 5 of 3, right? You can label it either way, but then this will be a 3 chord right here with first inversion, passing tone, 3 chord in root position. You could have just gone 5-3 or just 3, I suppose. So it's this nice little thing, and it's cool because Bach is also telegraphing. We're moving away from the key, and you see we are going to go to the key of B flat, although not yet, because he's going to say like, hey, there's this subtonic and then relative major out there. Did you know that? He's foreshadowing, and then he'll still cadence here and half cadence in the key of G, but then he'll move on for real. Okay? All right, so then we have a C, an E flat, and a G. So this is going to be a 4 chord in first inversion. I don't think we think of that as a 7th. I think we think of this as a suspension again right here, right? So that'd be a 5. And interesting, when this resolves down, this steps up, so it's a 5-3 suspension. It's kind of a weird numbering, but because the bass moved, we have to evaluate at that point right there. And then here I have an F and an F and an A, right? And this looks like another 7, subtonic 7 chord, yes? Right? And you can even throw that there. Should go to a 3, right? But it doesn't. He's really pushing the idea that we're going to the relative major. Right? That's what's happening there. Okay? In a way, even though this is a half cadence, it's a deceptive cadence, because when you get to here and you've heard this, and then you hear this afterwards, right, with our, like this. Oops, wrong. There we go. And then you hear this. It feels like it should be, it should go to, you know, here, right? But it doesn't. It goes to there instead, right? It's in its own way, it's a half cadence, but you could also say and make an argument that it's a deceptive cadence too, which is cool. We've said that deceptive cadences are anything that make you think you're going to a one chord, right? 5/7 in the key of B flat, and then doesn't go there, right? So depends. If you want to read this like we've already modulated, then you say, well, this is a 5/7 and this is not one, right? So you could have called that earlier, but I just think he's morphing over time to show us that we're moving away. Okay, moving on. It's still going to keep us in the key of G minor because of the cadences, although the argument could be made to splice here and say I'm in the key of B flat and this is deceptive, but I'm starting to make a hard argument to say. Pen, here, blue pen. So this is my 5 chord again, and this is my 1 chord again, and we have that pesky F major dominant 7 chord right here, F, A, C's and C's and the E flat. And so, you know, here's the problem with calling it this again, is that we know we're cadencing in B flat. So this is one of those cases where I think what we have to do is call pivot. This here in the key of B flat would equal 6, right? So we have pivoted into the new key here, and now we're just going to call this 5, 6, 5. And we're in the key of B flat now, like that. And so that would make sense because this F chord is going to a B flat chord, B flat D, F, D, right? So there's my 1, right? And these are passing, and this is going to be a 6. It's G minor, but it's just a 6. Here's my C chord with a clear 7th here. You can call it a suspension if you want. It's either a 2-6 because we're in the key of B flat, so C minor, or if you want to call this actually part of the chord now, you can call it 6-5. It's up to you. If you call it a suspension, it's a 6. Sorry, it's a 5. And then a 3 suspension there as well, which is the same as what he had above. Okay? And good, we're good. All right, let's keep going, keep plugging through and try and get through this in a decent amount of time. There's my 1 chord again. It's just up the octave. Here is an F, A, C, so this is my 5-6 right there, right? Here's another 1 chord, B flat, D, F, and D, and this is a passing tone right there. So there's my 1. And this here, you might go like, oh, are we going back to the key of G minor because there's a G minor chord and we got the F sharp again? And that is solved by saying, well, no, because we're cadencing in F. So because we know that the ultimate goal of this phrase is not the key of G minor, we're not changing key here. We're just labeling this as a 5, 6, 5 of, in this case, in the key of B flat, G minor 6. And there's my 6 chord right there, right? This is just a secondary dominant because it's local to the middle of a phrase that's cadencing in a different key than that, okay? And then, now we know that this is the key of F right here, right? And at some point we have to say, well, how did we get there? So we can build backwards first off. This is a 5, 6, 5 in the key of F right there. It's just a C chord again with the 7th, and this is just stuff, right? And then it inverts and then goes to root position. So somewhere back here, we probably should have built a pivot chord. That usually happens early in the phrase. You can probably do this anywhere you want. I'm going to do this in red so you can see. If you wanted to say right out of the gates, I'm in the key of F, you can analyze this. This is my 4 chord, right? And this is my 1-6 chord, oops, major. And this is my 4 chord. And then this becomes my 2 chord. So this would become 5, 6, 5 of 2. And that's my 2 right there. And then we're in the key of F down here. It doesn't matter where you do it. You should listen and go like, well, it seems about right here. Bach has a tendency to do it early on. We've seen other ones where the very first chord out of the gate should be interpreted as the pivot chord to the new key. So somewhere in here, I think, you're going to say I'm in the key of F, and then you'd reconstruct these not as in the key of B flat, but in the key of F. Okay? I'm going to continue on, get done this. So from here we have an F, A, F, and C. it's not an F chord, it's a F dominant 7 chord, right? And again, because we know we're headed back to the key of G, we're not going to say we're in the key of B flat again. I mean, you can hear things and all these kind of possibilities fire off, kind of like when you see an Easter egg in a movie or in a book or something. You go, wait, that's related to this or this or this. They hid that there. Just like he's using the 5 of the G minor here to remind us where we came from, right? Just like he foreshadows going to the key of B flat by putting the subtonic 7 right here, but doesn't quite do it until later, going to that key. You know, he's foreshadowing, look, we were, or making us remember, callback, we were just in the key of B flat, so maybe this was a half cadence or something like that. You could actually look at the whole thing is there, but I like to think of the cadences as telling me what key I'm in. It helps for so many things. So I don't think I'm going to call this in the key of B flat. I think I'm just going to call this, 5/7 of B flat, which is 4. Okay? If it really bothers you, you can go back and interpret this whole thing as a half cadence, and this is the 5 of 5 going to the 5, but just doesn't sound like that with this here and then stopping to me. And then we go to my 4 chord, B flat. Besides, I have another, you know, this is the same as up here now. So let's work backwards. If I'm in the key of G, right, then this is my probably not a chord tone, C, C, E flat, and G. So this is my 4 chord in the key minor, sorry, of G, right? And this is E flat major, which would be what? That'd be a 6 chord, right? In the key of G minor, right? And then I think this is hearable in this key because if we get rid of this, because we knew it was a non-chord tone from being up there as a non-chord tone, then we have a D, well, we have a D, F sharp, C, and A. This is like 5/7. And if you really want to, you can call this A, C, and then, you know, this is my melodic minor 2 right there, being first inversion. It's up to you, where you can just call it a non-chord tone and a non-chord tone, right? But this is all in the key of G minor, and so I think we're going to interpret this here as being in the key of G minor again, and B flat would be my 3 chord, right? Or you can go subtonic 7 right there. Okay, but quickly out of the gate, changes back to the key of G minor. This is all interpretable as G minor, and then we get our modal thing at the end. And I think that's how it sounds. Like if I'm here, right there, and I go, and then we get this jarring, and that takes us back, and we get a deceptive progression. Nice. And then we get another dissonance on the beat right here. Right, and then we get our cadence. And then we get our sweet ending with our Picardy third. Yeah, it's really cool. So this serves dual purpose. One is it gets rid of the augmented second there, but also I think it really dislodges us from thinking we're in the key of B flat anymore. Sometimes a good mechanism way of thinking about this is if we make the chords unstable, if we use idioms that are chromatic, then it weakens the previous tonality in our ears, and we're more accepting of a new tonality when it comes in. So this E flat here sort of weakens the F major, but then it's not B flat because we do this right there, right? And so it's kind of jarring, and it sort of shakes our faith in the old key. And so when we get this again, then it feels very much like, this feels like a 5 going to a 6 in the key of G minor. Again, I'll start right there. I'm on that. Let's see, kind of look over at the piano. Here we are. So that's my B flat chord, and then we get this. That sort of breaks our B flat tonality. And this is reaffirming G minor, and here's my beautiful deceptive progression. And then we're ready again. He gives us a dissonance in the bass to shake our belief in what key we're in. So we're really ready to accept this sound.